Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Beautiful people, good morning. Ha, ha, ha.
I don't know what that is. I don't know where that voice came from.
No.
It's one of the split personality, multiple personality, schizophrenia fucking things that live in my head. How is everyone?
How are you?
How are you? How are you?
No, we are fine. We are fine. We are patched.
Did anyone watch the president last night? He gave us a supposed address.
Why was he so
He
glam
called
about?
He called a school assembly.
Yeah, why was he so glam though? I thought BRICS was supposed to be exciting.
Was he glum?
Yeah, he opens it up by.
Oh, you watched.
Oh,
Okay, you're already better than us because you watched.
well, Gareth, I am.
You're triple better than me because I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, I got a message from Ryan at like 5, 6 o'clock. He's like, "Oh, the president's going to address us." I'm like, yeah, I have to clean dog shit off with the lawn.
Yeah.
I guess I have time to do that now.
Yeah. So
No.
what did he say?
No, he looked so glam. He was basically just addressing that BRICS is upon us. And I have seen this in Santon because there's cops everywhere. There's
Oh, really?
SAPS everywhere. And
Really?
the Chinese flag is flying high, eh? So I think she is on his way. Yeah, he is on his way.
Where are they flying the Chinese flag?
The what do you call it? Is the Maslow. The Maslow has the Chinese flag just flying right throughout. You know, on Rivonia,
Oh,
the entire
really?
Maslow is just the Chinese
Oh,
flag
really?
is flying.
Okay, well,
Each and every pole post,
Huh.
lamp post.
But then what about the other countries?
Well,
Do they have different locations?
Well, Putin is a no-show. We still haven't heard from Brazil yet. But
India?
India Prime Minister. I think he's still
Listen.
coming.
I mean, this is so. You heard what Vusitembe Kwayo said last week. The guy who invented the term brick never intended for there to be an S as well.
Yeah.
no, firstly. And now
No.
there might be more countries.
I know, but no one wants the S, including Russia, India, China, and Brazil. So we're really this is our opportunity. Like,
If you have it at ours, we'll supply the alcohol.
And fly you some flags.
yeah, we'll fly some flags. By the way, Maslow, you should be either embarrassed about yourself that you will succumb to this ass kissing,
Yeah, but China.
because that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
I mean, I think the Maslow Hotel has some splaining to do, if you ask me, frankly. That's one thing. And even if, let's say it's great and it like makes President Xi, who does seem to have an extremely fragile ego, if it does make him feel better, then is that really the kind of person, like you have a couple of flags and that makes the person feels better? It's like, Donald Trump only likes people who like him. It's just, do we want people like that in charge?
Well, you can't not have the flags.
yeah, you
really?
can't not. Yeah.
Imagine.
Imagine she walks in.
I'm imagining
he
like
doesn't know where he is.
I don't have to imagine. Last week there were no Chinese flags. It's not hard to imagine. What do you mean?
But there were no Chinese either.
You think President Xi is like, they keep our flags all the time. They keep all these flags all the time, whether I'm here or not. Please, what a lot of nonsense. So now we're meant to be on our best behavior while BRICS are visiting.
Yes. If you can, please.
Is that the whole
Behave.
reason? So that's what he called the meeting for, so that we would all make him
Yeah.
look good at BRICS?
He's explaining like what BRICS is and what is happening in the country. But for me, like when he opened the speech, right, that was the opening because he went on and droned on like he does. But he was, again, I think what BRICS is being pitched is this like savior of the world. He wasn't on board.
But you said he was glum,
Yeah.
so he wasn't in like upbeat mood.
Yeah, he wasn't whoopsie. He wasn't normal Cyril, like, you know when he loses his laptop, like the eyes popping out. No, he was just there, like just tired.
How embarrassing.
Yep.
Maybe it's because it's like serious news, although he was quite laughy during COVID at times.
Lovely Lady Lee says Leigh-Ann's hip has healed very well. She's in the studio today.
Oh, you can see.
Yes.
You
Look
can
at
see-
you. But
How
look
good are
at
these
you.
cameras?
But I mean, look at you. Yeah, these cameras are amazing. We could see inside your hip joint.
Yeah,
Zoom specially close.
I'll show you my scar. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Um,
We don't want to see that.
No, it's pretty well healed. I still have some physio to do, and I do have to go for the other one, probably next month, depending on when I have to house sit for my brother.
Oh no, it's another one.
But you know what?
Is this like a pregnancy where the first kid is very scary, but then after that you're like, eh?
No, you see with the pregnancy, it comes with these hormones that make you forget how terrible it was, childbirth.
Oh, they can't just prescribe you some of those?
That would be a good idea. But I must tell you, I saw friends yesterday who I hadn't seen in nearly 20 years.
Wow.
I also need to explain that I wore a new mascara yesterday.
So why your eyes are a bit...
And it stung a
puffy.
bit. And then I put it on again this morning, which was my big mistake.
Do you think it's an allergic? Because I can't put anything near my eyes.
Yeah, same.
No,
And
like sunblock or
so,
anything. I'm very sensitive.
I'm so grateful I'm not a woman, because
We've
when
got an idea.
Yeah, we all are.
That looks amazing, Leigh-Ann, with that piece of paper stuck in your glasses. When I have put on like moisturizer, and I sometimes get it into my eyes, I'm like I blink like someone who's got Tourette's for the whole day.
Yeah, I'm the same. Even water from the shower,
Yeah.
that even does it. But anyway, saw these friends for the first time in like 20 years. And you know my social anxiety.
Sure.
And I actually said to my brother on the way there, I would rather, if you told me I had to have a third hip operation, I'd rather have that
Than meet people?
than go to this lunch.
No.
I promise you, that's how bad it is. I had to take
No, man.
a
What's happened to
tranquilizer.
You used to be the life of the party.
The thing is, I never did, but I've realized
rubbish, you were.
now that I
You were.
just did it. It's only the first few seconds,
And then you're okay.
and then I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's like me with my JOMO, joy of missing out.
Oh yeah.
It's like when I say yes to something, I'm always like, oh no, why did I say yes to that?
Yes.
But then after a couple of minutes of being there, I'm like, yeah, this was actually a good decision.
Yeah, it's
Huh?
exactly that. So
That
I've
is.
identified that.
Right.
But yeah.
So let's get back to Cyril for a second, because I did see a small excerpt of the speech. First of all, it sounded like he was in a big echoey room. So where did he do it from?
I have no idea where he was doing it from. Maybe he was doing it from maybe he was here in
Where is
Southampton.
here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he said this weird thing. I think he's feeling the pressure because there was that multi-party meeting last week where they signed essentially like we had Courtney Mulder from the Freedom Front Plus here on Thursday on the Burning Platform. And it sounds to me like they've written a kind of a constitution within the constitution.
Yeah.
And these parties, all of them except the EFF and the ANC.
Yeah, or even the PA dumped the ANC. They're saying they're
Yeah,
willing to join the multiple.
I mean, I think this is really a good sign, because it shows you that these guys, anywhere you see people who are willing to put their own ego second to a vision, is usually a good sign.
Mm.
It's usually a good sign, especially if the vision is like those 10 things that Courtney Mulder was talking about. Like, we want economic growth. We want to end corruption. We want to have less crime and violence. We want to have jobs. Those are things that everyone in this country, even ANC supporters, I think want.
Sorry.
What do you got going on there, Leigh-Ann?
I'm just trying something new. Don't mind.
So
me.
anyway, so when they get together and they do this, I think it put pressure on the president. He suddenly realized, like, oh shit, hang on. Like, the ANC has pretty much been, and this is what he said in the speech, which is a dead giveaway. He was like, oh, in the days of the UDF, we appealed to Indians and coloreds and whites and blacks. But the ANC has become only a black party. I'm paraphrasing him, but that's more or less what he said. And he said, we are not this racial ethnic party, which is nonsense, because that's all they've been for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot of Indian or colored people who weren't already in government positions who believe.
Well, even Ahmed Kathrada.
Yeah, exactly.
RIP. He already was disenfranchised with the ANC.
And I'm just astonished that it takes this president such a long time to catch on to what the rest of the country's caught on to. And if this isn't an opportunity for that multi-party thing that got together in Kempton Park the other day, then I don't know what is. If you guys don't grab this thing by both balls and pull and make it work, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, this is the ANC. It's like they're stumbling around in the dark. And the blindfold fell off for 5 seconds, and they got to see, like, oh hell, we don't appeal to anyone except cadres. Because most black people don't care about the ANC. Remember what we heard on Thursday? Such astonishing numbers. Again, worth repeating. So the ANC in the last election got 11 million votes. That's all. There are 13 million registered voters who didn't vote. And there are 17 million unregistered voters who didn't vote. If you just got a quarter of the registered and unregistered people who didn't vote, you have a majority in parliament, let alone like a small number of seats. You have a majority. So these multi-party guys, and I'm telling you now, I would support them 100%, because it doesn't matter whether you are more on the Patriotic Alliance, IFP, DA, Freedom Front, Herman Mashaba, Musi Maimane. I don't care which one you support. I'm not even interested. And if you don't want to tell me, that's also fine. But if you really think that it would be a good idea to give Cyril and his clowns another 5 years, I don't know what to tell you except that you need your head read. And I think he had to make this speech last night. And he tried to throw a whole bunch of things into it by the sound of things. It was like, because BRICS gives him an opportunity to be important on the world stage, which I think is his last opportunity to be
It
important.
is, yeah, because it's so what you stumbled on, I read it in a different way. I read it as more for like a threat, or as the threat is, if you don't keep the ANC in power, you lose this BRICS thing. So that's their last.
Well, no,
chip
I
to
mean,
play.
so actually, the heading for this thing was keynote address by the president on the 40th anniversary of the founding of the UDF.
Yeah.
So, and it was held at the Johannesburg City Hall.
Yeah.
So that's why there was such an echo on it.
Yeah.
But if it was the UDF, then that's why he's trying to reclaim territory, because these guys are talking about this multi-party thing as being a new UDF, right? So I think he was just trying to reclaim territory that they clearly have given up.
Oh yeah, so like the reason why there's an echo is because there's gas in the room, because we still don't,
Yes.
we don't know where the gas came from.
And
All this mystery gas.
I know.
What the hell?
It's
Get control of your
unbelievable, right?
gas, people.
yeah.
But I think
So Cyril made all the ways, made a schlep to go to Johannesburg City Hall, and then didn't address why there's a big hole in the middle of the city.
They still don't know. We still don't know. Does anyone here know what the big explosion was?
I've seen all explanations, everything from what are the take a chance miners?
The Zama.
Thank you.
Take a chance.
man. Take a
The
chance.
name slipped
Play
me.
the lot.
Zama, zogo set lama.
But there was
Take your chance. Money on the box.
Tata my chance.
Tata a million. Oh, they are.
Remember that. Wow.
There were so many people who didn't vote last time, and I just standing near the voting station. You know, when the parties have got their little tented
Yeah.
areas.
And they're not allowed within a certain range.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thank God, I'm past the parties.
Yeah, and there were people walking past who weren't voting, and the parties were saying, "Hey, come and vote."
Yeah.
And they were going, "I'm not voting because I just it's all a mess, and I don't want to be part of it." I really hope that those people realized that by not voting, look what happened.
Yeah.
No, there's a thing Sis probably stumbled on when the EFF lady was on here. She said the EFF can get all these numbers, they can get all the social media following, all these people that are like they basically can then get the clout. But how do you get the voter, the registered voter, into the voting booth and ticking the box? People don't care currently. And what the multi-party thing, I'm not for it. I read into it.
You're not for it?
In South Africa, I think that we need a lot of electoral reform. I think we should not be voting for parties. We should be voting for people.
But
That's
what
how
do
we
you want-
hold people accountable.
Are you still looking for perfection when really we've got the...
No. This is a start. Like what you're saying. Like it's the best option we have. But if we're going for what? If we're going for if we're chasing the unicorn is we should be voting for people. I should be voting for Gareth and telling Gareth that, Gareth, you promised me a toilet. You don't have a toilet. But the ANC, but like if you go up there, they're like, oh no, we'll reshuffle the cabinet and then we'll deliver. That's what they're gonna do. So what happens if whoever leads, right? So currently the projection is Stian Hazen will lead this forum that they formed. What happens if they decide, oh, Stian Hazen is not following the mandate? They put him in, they put in another person and another person. 10 years later, where are we? We're back with the ANC. So I think we should be voting for people and not parties.
I do agree with you, but unfortunately what we've got is not a constituency-based system.
Yeah.
It is a party list system.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is going to require a 2/3 majority in parliament, whole bunch of electoral reform, whole bunch of change. We don't have that option at the moment. It's not even on the table. I mean, it may be down the way, but right now it's not. So you got to take the best you can get. And in South Africa, we're so used to taking the worst we can get that anything would be better. I'm willing to give this a chance because just on the basis of probabilities, to not take a chance on this, 50-50, zama. If I don't take a chance on this, then I'm going to go with what I already know is going to be terrible, which we've had for the last 30 years. How's that worked out for us?
Exactly.
And to expand more on your point, Leigh-Ann, about not voting, right? There's this thing, I'm not an expert on it, but I remember reading on it like in grade 12 when I was still wide-eyed and naive. So apparently in South Africa, if you're registered and you don't vote, and even if you're unregistered and you don't vote, some like the votes go to the majority. So like there's 3 of us in this room, right? So Gareth doesn't vote.
Well,
Leigh-Ann
proportionally,
votes.
yeah.
So
proportionally,
they
I then
assume,
count for.
Yeah, you
I'm
count
the only one who votes out of the 3 of us. Then my vote essentially counts twice as much as, or 3 times as much. In effect, as
so
someone.
The report would be that Cliff Central in the student room, like in the studio, they 100% voted for the ANC, for example.
Yeah, correct.
Even though me and Leigh-Ann didn't vote.
Because you guys know I'm a big ANC voter.
Yes. Yeah, your blood runs gold, green, and black.
Once upon a time, huh? Once upon a time. All right, so ironic, says Sanele, because the whole government governs the country like a Zama Zama game show. That's about right. Congo Chris agreeing with you, says I'm with Bakis. That's your new name, whether you like it or not now, Bakh'abantu. We need electoral reform to vote for people and policies, not parties. Tax-paying citizens should also get an additional vote. It's like our tax being put to work. That's always, again, if you're going to talk about electoral reform, so why is this idea that everybody should have the same vote such a universally held truism? Because if someone is on tick and
I wish,
and they're a deadbeat dad, and they have never held down a job, and they shit in the streets, and they knife pensioners, why should that person's vote be the same as a hardworking tax-paying citizen who is trying to keep a family together and pay for fuel
and get their son
put their kids into school and
get their son who's on tick off the streets?
Correct. Yeah. Why should that meth head get the same vote as the sensible person who's trying to make a positive difference in the world? Should they? I mean, just objectively, that doesn't make sense, right?
So objectively, it doesn't make sense. But in terms of the Constitution, it does. Everyone is equal.
I know, but this is something we need to discuss. So let everybody be equal, but let people earn extra votes by doing great things in the country.
How are you going to measure that or implement it?
It's going to have to be put into some kind of a system, which I don't for a minute think we could do
a merit
right now.
system, like driving.
Like if we tried to put that into place now, it would be a disaster. First of all, it would just be corrupt from the get-go. So I'm not saying, but if we're going to talk electoral reform,
and
shouldn't we actually like restrict voting to the, you have to qualify for voting. In other words, when you register for voting, at that moment, you're like, okay, well, I'm a parent. So because you have an investment in the future, because you have children, maybe you get 1 extra vote because you're a parent, whether you're a good or bad parent, whatever. Second one is I can employ people. So you have even more reason to be invested in the future because you run a business and you actually pay other people money to work for you. So maybe that's another.
What if you're
vote.
An influencer?
No, I don't think that comes
you get
into
less.
It. No, I don't think that comes into it. I think that there are a bunch of things that you could say, okay, well, this person, let's say that you are somebody who has done something incredible and you've got some award from the country. Like, you're
teaching or science.
Award of the Baobab.
Whatever, one of those. And then you get an extra vote for that. Then it's really something worth having, right? People will strive to get those awards because they'll be like, well, I get an extra vote.
Incentive structure.
Yeah. But you build things into it. Now, I'm not saying that I've figured out all of this.
Okay, so
but let's say you have a matric.
Yeah.
Get a vote. Okay, extra vote. Because you can hopefully in this country, right, spell and add and subtract basic stuff like that. because, and then you can do a civics exam. So everyone could sit for this, and it would take you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you basically get asked, which one is our flag? And then like multiple choice.
Yeah.
And point to South Africa on a map. And who is the president?
How many provinces? Because
how
we
many
can't
provinces?
answer that.
Right, like things like that, a civics exam. And if you get that right, you get an extra vote. So that we can just fish out some of the people who are just not actually going to help by voting. They're going to make it worse because they're on tick, or because they don't look after themselves or anyone in their family, or because they're just a parasite and they just don't add any value to the world. And I don't know how that system is going to work, but if we're going to do electoral reform, if we're going to
We should look into that.
if we're going to expect our representatives to level up rather than level down, then surely the average voter should level up as well.
So
I don't know. I'm just saying it's something to think.
Okay, just a quick retort. So now, in terms of the Constitution, our Constitution is very optimistic. So it always looks for, our Constitution, even the Bill of Rights, it always looks for the maximum amount of people that can gain, right? So if Leigh-Ann has a right, it won't take away her right. It'll give me the same right as she has.
Okay, but just on my suggestion for a qualified franchise, or at least an additional franchise for those who are doing something, those people are buying into the future to make the whole place better. They're not like getting extra rights for themselves. So of course you're going to end up with someone somewhere will stand for election and go, I'm going to give extra rights to those people who have extra votes, but they won't get a lot of votes.
And also,
it's not going to work.
People's situations and circumstances change rapidly during life. So you'd have to take this test rate or be
every time
monitored.
there's an election. I mean, if we can have an election, we can have the test.
And there are going to be calls of discrimination.
But you know how you do it? You do it with blockchain, and you do it with AI, and you make sure that there's no way that you could fudge the system.
How are you going to implement that in tiny townships?
Yeah, in tiny townships that doesn't have running water.
People have phones, all right? Everybody in this country, the poorest person in South Africa has a phone. And if they don't, then you must set up places where they can. And like in the rural places where they don't have phones, then someone has to go in. This is part of the job of government anyway.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have places that don't have internet connection and people don't have phones. We shouldn't have that. That's the whole reason government exists. So once government is in place and it knows what it's doing, and I mean, obviously we're talking ideally here, and this is not likely to happen, but it's worth fantasizing about. I mean, we're going to fantasize about a multi-party, like getting together and fixing stuff. Then we can fantasize about how to make it even better.
Yeah.
Like you started this, Bakh'abantu. You started this by saying we want to actually vote for people, not for a party list, which is a good thing. I agree with you. Anyway, I mean, there's a hell of a way to start a Monday, right?
Right.
Sandy Les says he's just here for the sports report.
Yeah. So Sandy, let's get to that sports report. Actually, so we fired you after last week. You know that you're fired.
I actually put up the results last night because I actually took an investment and then I was fired. It's too late.
Cheek ride. You're like the ANC coming and asking for our votes after messing up for 30 years. Hey, Ryan, there he is. So Ryan, we're handing this responsibility, this big, awesome responsibility, Ryan. We're handing it to you. Don't let us down, all right?
Oh, no. No pressure.
No pressure, Ryan.
All right, so let's do a quick recap of what's happened in sport over the weekend. Beyond the scoreboard weekend sports recap, here is Ryan. Tell us what happened. What did we miss? What did we watch?
Let's start off with the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Women's World Cup, shall we say. La Roja are the champions for the first time. That is Spain. They beat England 1-0.
Dun, 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 dun.
What a slow game.
So it didn't come home.
No.
Yeah.
Like with the Lionesses.
So it was actually scored by Olga Komana. And the sad thing is, after the game, she was told her father passed away.
Oh,
Sad.
no. Like during the game, he must have passed away.
He must have passed away during the game.
I hope he got to see her goal before he died.
She got the medal, and then she was told afterwards. So it was the best and worst day of her life.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine those emotional roller coaster ride there?
Yeah. So that's hard. I don't want to bring it down like that.
If she can handle the emotional roller coaster that comes with PMS, then she can handle that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a lot. Third place, not that I don't think anyone watched, but Sweden 2-0 to Australia, to the Matildas.
In fact, you're right. Nobody watched.
Only
But
because it's third place.
So third place is then for Sweden.
Yes.
The Matildas.
Yeah,
the Lionesses.
They beat the
Matildas.
Matildas, yeah. Okay, let's get into some Premier League. So I didn't want to start off with this one, but I think we should. As you know, everyone knows I'm a Chelsea fan.
Well, now that
and you guys got a whooping.
Yeah, we got a thrashing 3-1 from a 10-man West Ham United.
Life is tough when you don't have that oligarch money, hey?
Yeah. No, the worst part is we have the money.
No,
we
have
spent
Saudi
almost
money,
$1 billion this season.
So you still can't get it right.
Still can't get it right.
You need that oligarch pressure. That's what you
You
need.
need that Russian.
The worst part is
guns.
we missed the penalty and we debuted our 112 million pound signing, Moises Caicedo, who did nothing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was nice.
And you forget this part. West Ham had 10 men.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I would prefer if you just didn't in any way involve
Don't
yourself.
interject, okay.
You have, even if you are a sports fan, the impression most of us have of you is that you even know less than me, which is saying something. So I think you just butt out of the sports report. I mean, really, this is like what you think you've gone fishing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's a go-kart race. All right, what else?
All right, so a caneless Spurs thrashed Manchester United 2-0, which was great to watch. Made my Saturday, but obviously my Sunday wasn't that great with Chelsea
When
losing.
you say caneless around Leigh-Ann, she immediately thinks,
oh, no.
the bar doesn't have cane.
No, I was thinking of walking canes.
I was also thinking walking canes.
Also
So Harry Kane just left Tottenham Hotspurs. He went to Bayern Munich.
Right.
And so to come back with a thrashing of 2-0, that's impressive. So
Okay.
we have Liverpool 3-1 to Bournemouth and Man City 1-0 to Newcastle. That's no Haaland goals this weekend. That's okay. Tonight we have a game that's Crystal Palace and Arsenal at 9 p.m.
All
So
right.
tune in for that.
Very good.
Rugby friendlies, anyone watch?
No.
No.
I did.
No. We had the Springboks give a thrashing to Wales at
1652.
52-16. Yeah.
1652. That's
Yeah.
the year Jan van Riebeeck arrived in the Cape.
Ben did say this was our best squad on Friday.
Yeah.
So naturally, I think it's great. Ireland 29,
Wow.
10 to England, and then France 34-17 Fiji.
All right.
So that was great. And then this is the thing that tripped up Ben's multiplier for the weekend. This is why he lost his money. It was the Sugar Show at UFC 292, where Sugar Sean O'Malley shocked the MMA world with a second round of knockouts to Aljamain Sterling to claim the UFC bantamweight title.
Not El Jamad. That's the
No, not to be
Nyope
confused with with the
Nyope
Nyope Mea.
Mea. Okay.
And then finally, my bonus sport update. Ben didn't
All
include
right.
this, but I feel like we should. South Africa's very own Brad Binder from KTM Red
Yes.
Bull came second at the Austrian GP.
Very good.
Right behind Bagnaia from Ducati, who claimed first place, and Bezecchi from Team VR46, who placed third.
Very nice. Thank you, Ryan.
Follow me on Twitter at Hawksley for more sport updates. There we go. Let's go.
All right.
That's how it's done.
Very
Mic
good.
drop.
Nice. Okay. Good work. See, that's a professional sports update.
Very good.
We're even seeing the comments.
Yeah, like vote for people, guys, not for parties.
Trying to recoup some honor and glory there. All right, that is Beyond the Scoreboard, the weekend sports recap with Superbets. And of course, in case you are betting, Superbets wants you to know they support responsible gambling, strictly no under 18s. Winners know when to stop. The South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling hotline is 0800 006 008. What is this nonsense, Leigh-Ann, that you want to move to Scotland?
No, it's just an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So for a visit, I was completely nerding out over this place.
Why?
It's
What's so special about it?
so it's in a tiny little town in, I think it's southwestern Scotland.
Oh,
And it's an Airbnb above a secondhand bookshop.
oh.
So this little town is known. It's known as the bookshop town of Scotland
wow.
nationally.
Okay.
And they have ceremonies every year and get-togethers. This Airbnb is on top of the secondhand bookshop. It's like really quaint
Okay.
and really cute. And you know my love of books and libraries and things like that. So when you book into this Airbnb, you go and it's just for two people. You go and stay up top, but then you run the bookshop for the entire time that you're there.
And they trust you to run it like an honor system?
You have the keys. You can change the opening and closing times.
Here we go.
You can
Surprise books, ticket
so
chance.
for instance, this is screenshot from somebody who went there. She actually posted her mum and dad went there. Her mum's an author, so this has been her dream to go to this little town.
Okay.
So they ran the bookshop, and then you redo the display, the window display.
You're in
come up
charge
with
of the
your own-
shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
You decide the prices of the books. You decide everything. And they did this little surprise books. Take a chance. They wrapped books in paper. And it's just this quaint little town, so cute.
So let me just understand, the people who actually own the building, the shop and the B&B,
yeah.
they don't work in the shop. You have to work there.
When
Plus you
you're
pay
not
them-
there, they'll
Plus
work
you
there.
pay them for the Airbnb.
Yes.
These guys are genius. They're
Find-
getting free
find-
labor.
Find Gareth to ruin Leigh-Ann's dream.
No, but I mean, they find free labor. This is very clever, right? Because they get someone to run the store. They also get these people to experiment with how the store should run. Someone's going to come
with
up with
promotions
Yeah.
and specials and
right. Someone's
campaign
going to come up with
ideas.
brilliant ideas. Someone's going to come up with terrible ideas. Is that the couple who run the place?
That's just
Because that guy is significantly older than that girl.
oh, come on. You're always trying to find a hole in my fantasies. It's called The Open Book.
Okay.
And no, that is not a couple, I don't think.
Okay. Well. All right. So that's the view of the view of the sea over the hills and over the rooftops of the wee Scottish town.
And it's also to show you that Scotland does have cloud-free days.
Beautiful. It's the only day in the last 30 years that they managed to.
all 2 days of
They
the
use
year.
that one stock photo.
Okay, but do you really want to go here, huh? Looks charming and sweet.
Oh, I'd love that.
Okay. Well, you know
Just-
what?
Like, not a bad soul in this village.
That's what you think.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's old Mrs. McClanahan.
Who lives in the basement of
She's a
the
nasty
second-hand
witch.
shop.
Oh, hi. She's got all kinds of weird habits and cruel predispositions. And she walks around with a stick,
And you just-
beating the children of the village.
just serves haggis all the time.
No, I'm sure there's strange people there, but
Well, I mean, listen, it looks kind of charming. I do agree
I
with you.
just thought it was a nice idea. I like totally nerded out over it.
All right. Well, very nice.
Yeah,
It looks like a pretty place. There's some Scottish people. Listen, I've been to Scotland. You've been?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Very few attractive people.
Oh, really? that explains my looks because it is my heritage. I'm a McKellar Boyle.
Jesus.
Yeah,
What
you-
kind of boil do you have to lance it?
You're a mole and a boil.
Yeah.
McKellar as
Yeah.
well. On top
Oh,
of that.
wow. Okay. Wow. So Matthew says we need an Airbnb above Cliff Central Studio. The funny thing is we've got there's a room here that you can rent in this area.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that
And you
could,
get to run all the podcasts.
that could yeah.
yeah.
We
You
should
get
put
to-
you in charge. Free labor. I love that. That's so great. When I see quaint little towns like these, says Tracy, I always think of that movie Hot Fuzz. All
Yeah.
sorts of stuff going on there.
Yeah. Good movie.
That was a hilarious movie. I
Yeah.
remember it too. All right, so very nice. We've got something there in Scotland that could be up someone's street. Now, a top South African businessman has been caught up in an international mystery involving millions of dollars, fake gold bars, an impounded private plane, and the citizens of several countries in Africa and Europe. This man and 10 other people, including an Egyptian businessman, were in a private plane at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport in Lusaka in Zambia when they were waiting for takeoff. Gunmen entered the aircraft. Can you imagine this? Took cash, including 10 million, which was used to buy the gold, and other valuables, and tortured them for hours before leaving. What a story,
Jeez, like,
right?
that's like a Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen this movie before,
yeah.
but now it's your life,
Terrible.
dude.
It's a bad story.
Yeah.
And for those cryptocurrency fans, this is also bad news. Elon Musk has sold a whole lot of Bitcoin. SpaceX is Bitcoin, but
Yeah.
he bought it. So cryptocurrencies have extended declines this week, sliding with global risk assets as investors price in higher interest rates for longer. And a report of Elon Musk's SpaceX selling Bitcoin has added to the concern. So you can imagine there are a lot of people at the moment going, sell, sell, sell.
Yeah, but have you seen the decline of Bitcoin?
Well, it's not looking great.
It's not looking good, especially after that Binance thing that happened.
No.
So after that, the crash has been real. If
Oh,
Elon,
I really hope it works, though. I really hope. I mean, I'm hoping against hope that it'll work. I just don't believe Like we can rely on BRICS with their currency. What are they going to call it? The I don't even know. I'm going to give it some name, the BRICS dollar or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you've got the US dollar, which is being messed up by the the administration printing all this money.
Yeah.
So we have to have a place that we can actually trust the currency, and where we don't have a government with its dirty, greedy hands all over the currency.
That was the
BRICS.
pitch.
We have to.
BRICS coin. That's
BRICS.
what it'll be.
BRICS coin,
BRICS
Bitcoin,
coin.
Bitcoin, BRICS coin.
That was the pitch though behind Bitcoin and
I know.
blockchain. It was
know.
decentralized currency. No one controls it. It fluctuates on its own, but
Absolutely.
but it fluctuates according to opinion. And if an opinion like Elon Musk
Mhm.
moves it, it does move it down.
Well, I'm not. I still have cryptocurrency, and you know what? The people who know a lot more than me keep telling me, "Oh, you just got to wait. Eventually, it's going to turn around." I'm like, okay, well, I've been waiting 8 years
Same
now.
people on the Titanic, right?
Yeah,
Moving
well,
tables.
I don't think that.
I'm joking.
I don't
I'm
think there's
joking.
a Titanic thing. I think there's still a huge amount of value in there. Look at this. Here is something truly terrifying. I found this on Instagram. Terrifying creature that looks like it's from film Teeth. Did you ever watch the film Teeth?
No.
Spotted in a UK river. Now that's like a lamprey or an eel, that thing. It's got like rows and rows of teeth in this little suction mouth. Looks horrible. That is the kind of thing you do not want to encounter. And I love the way they've got like some dude with a dog in the inset. And he looks all happy that he's discovered this thing. If I discovered that, I wouldn't be happy.
You wouldn't tell anyone.
Oh, hell no. I'd run for the hills. A creature. A terrifying creature that they discovered in some UK river. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, just bodies of water in general. You can't trust them.
Well, I mean, listen, if you gave me an option of owning Bitcoin or having to encounter one of these, I'll take the Bitcoin ride. Thank you very much.
Imagine someone gave you like a tiny little animal embryo and you didn't know what it was.
And it grew into this.
And it grew into that in your like fishbowl.
Well, Slippery Pickle says that is why you don't swim naked,
Yep.
Jeez.
especially if you're a man. Imagine that thing attaching to your
Tackle.
tackle.
Well,
It's not
might
a-
be nice for some.
Not with those teeth. What
Hey.
kind of S&M weird stuff do you
Maybe
think
they're
people are into?
rubbery.
No, they don't look very rubbery to me. They look very rubbery, says Xi Jinping, who's staying at the Maslow.
Oh dear.
Apparently he's staying at the Maslow. There's a ton of Chinese flags up there. All right, very good. And that's not good. Not that creature. Everything else is very good. Not that.
The creature from the Black
The
Lagoon.
creature. Exactly. All right. So what else you got that you want to bring in this morning? I know Leigh-Ann's got something about some scientist that she wants to talk about. too.
Yes.
Who's
So-
the scientist? Because I put up a picture earlier by mistake, and I was like, she doesn't look like a Scottish B&B.
So this scientist is 16 years old.
Wow.
Okay. She is she's an intern at a number of universities, but is still in school.
Wow.
She's in
Wow.
like-
Wow. I feel like such a loser.
I know
Yeah,
this
me
is
too,
this is
right?
going to make you feel like that. She's just won a national prize of $50,000, but that's not like the big thing behind this. So she has discovered, for so long we've thought that suicide is something that is only psychological, not
Mm.
physiological.
Sure.
She went and took slivers from two different brains, or from a number of people who hadn't died by suicide and those who had.
So
And
not
she-
too many brains.
Many. And she studied these under a microscope. And she's discovered this. Nobody else knew about it.
Hmm?
That there is a certain chemical that our brain produces. We have a chemical called Claudin 5. It's part of the blood-brain barrier that protects the brain from potentially harmful molecules in the blood.
Okay.
And the finding of this protein in the neurons has found to be elevated in those who died by suicide. And it's indicative of a breakdown in this blood-brain barrier that have allowed now for an influx of agents into the functional areas of the brain that affect decision-making and behavioral control.
So this is like this chemical is almost like a security guard at the stadium to keep the crowd
Yes.
from trampling each other to death.
That's it. And, for
and
so
they reckon
long,
if you find a lot of this in someone's brain, they may be more predisposed to suicide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So for the first time ever, suicide is going to be treated as a disease like in studies, like cancer or anything else, physiological, which is quite amazing.
What do you say about this?
She's made this
Bakh'abantu?
breakthrough.
Someone who looks into microscopes all the time.
I don't know. So I read the article because Leigh-Ann posted it up, right? So
Mhm.
I read the article and I'm thinking if we're treating stuff like this leads us to, okay, I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but this leads us to pedophilia as a mental condition that needs to be treated and whatnot. So this chemical gets elevated
What?
when
Even the pedophiles are like, why are you talking about us? We have nothing to do with this. What? Because the 16-year-old scientist, leave him alone.
no, but
We're
like
happy in our trailer park.
but now if we're treating this chemical from entering the brain and preventing them from committing suicide, but that's more treating a symptom, but like isn't the underlying cause psychological?
Wait, treatment's way down the line here. I'm just thinking, first of all, just calm down, all right? I came to you for sensible, but you like jumping to conclusions. Maybe diagnostically it'll help. In other words, we can figure out whether someone is really suicidal or they may be just attention seeking, first place. Second place is maybe we can help to prevent that person if we discover that they may have an excess of this chemical in their brains, which may indicate that they could be.
So we medicate them.
Well, no,
and keep
maybe
them alive.
maybe we just we have a heightened awareness. You know, sometimes, and often, in fact, not just a minority of times, people are like, I don't understand why that person. There were no signs.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's
that
a big
this
thing for
person
me.
wasn't going to kill
I
themselves.
thought they were fine. They seemed fine.
Yeah.
They may have been, and it might have just been an overload of this chemical or
And-
protein.
And maybe that there is a physiological aspect to this, that it isn't all just about, you know, depression and other mental health problems. Maybe there's also a physiological effect of this chemical, which can make someone more likely to commit suicide. And if that's
Definitely.
the case, I mean, shouldn't we know about it?
But okay, so you see now it seems like I'm poo-pooing on her idea, right? But we've already known. So
We bring you here to poo-poo. That's what we do. The poo-pooing
So-
is part of your ambit.
a conversation I was having with a friend of mine was like, I like the fact that mental illness and mental stuff and mental disorders are no longer just called mental disorders. I like the term neurodivergent because it means chemically there's an imbalance somewhere. So that's already something we've discovered, like physiologically, like some people are more prone to be depressed because the right happy hormones, serotonin and
Well, actually, that's more or less been put into a big question mark now. It's not so clear that serotonin is the cause of.
Well, it's not actually
Serotonin.
serotonin. It's when you don't have enough receptors for the
Oh,
serotonin
well,
on your
I-
so
neurons.
it's
On
just
your
free.
neurons.
Yeah, exactly. It's just free serotonin and neurons aren't
Surely
picking
if-
it up.
This is a discovery that will form part of the corpus now of knowledge.
Yeah.
It will add to what we know, and in some way, it must be a positive contribution.
It is.
What
but
are
I'm
you?
just
What were you doing at 16?
wait, I was playing with that fish in my tackle.
Yeah, me
Or
too.
just playing with your tackle.
Right, exactly.
But some people do care about other people committing suicide and populations declining and humanity's numbers, and she's one of those. And at the moment in the US, suicide is the second biggest cause of death of people of the age of 15 to 24.
And
I mean, that's big.
and it is on the rise in the Western world.
Yeah.
Suicide is on the rise. We need to figure out what that's for and what that's about.
But we know what that's for.
Uh,
It's directly linked to the Facebook generation. It's directly linked to social media. It's directly linked
yes.
to cyberbullying. It's
But maybe
directly
not all
linked,
the time.
but it's also directly linked to the opioid crisis in America, that where kids are being given
All right.
from the.
We're not the experts. Look, here's Dr. Hanan. He's an actual expert in this kind of thing. I mean, Doc, if they do discover that there is some chemical which, if there's an excess of, and it gets in the way of this blood-brain barrier, and they discover that it has some kind of a link to people who commit suicide, we should incorporate that into the overall knowledge. Surely. We don't know everything about it, but it's probably valuable information, and we should throw it in there with the rest of it.
Yeah, we should. Listen, the debate is really robust, and I have a really in-depth opinion about whether and chemical imbalance causes really any psychiatric disorder. Because what does it even mean, chemical imbalance? Please define chemical balance for me. It doesn't exist, and you can't measure for that. There's no like the average person has these chemicals in their brain which makes them functional. We know people that have high levels of serotonin that are completely depressed, anxious, and suicidal, and we know people that have so-called low levels of serotonin that are completely grateful and have incredible sense of purpose and live life to the fullest. So chemical imbalance debate is it's, you know what, the drug companies, and this is not a conspiracy theory, they need to lay on the foundation of there is a chemical imbalance and here's what we produce to give you that chemical balance back.
Right.
But the truth is it's much more nuanced and much more complex than that. What about a sense of purpose, which is, by the way, the number one reason why people commit suicide, because they lack that. What about financial stability? What about relationships? People are less eager to seek companionship these days than ever before. What about a sense of stability in the home? What about having a solid family, a mom at home, a dad at home, a mom and dad that are happy together at home?
Yeah.
I mean, that all contributes.
No, Doc, you are so right. And also, let's accept that the human condition is not to be perfectly happy and balanced all the time anyway, right? I mean, surely there's a huge argument about how going through difficulty of whatever kind is actually part of being human.
Yeah, we're supposed to feel anxiety and fear because those things will protect us from things that could kill us.
The abnormal person is the one who is totally happy the whole time and everything's great.
Throwing daisies while a bear's chasing them.
Yeah.
Guys, the reality is that I always say challenge is a privilege. The fact that you have pressure in your life is an absolute privilege because that means that you have value in your life. Depressed people are not challenged. Depressed people don't say, I've got pressure. Depressed people say, I've got nothing. So the fact that you have these pressures and the fact that you have these challenges is a privilege. You should not be so lucky to have enough value in your life that you feel that there's a sense of pressure and an eagerness to achieve and to fix and to create. So we don't chase the easy. We chase the efficient, but we don't chase the easy. We chase the challenge because that's where the value is.
Right. Okay, so that's not our subject for this morning. So let me bring this in quickly. We got an anonymous question from somebody on email this week. So let me give this to you, Doc, and you give us your top line thoughts. I've been dating someone who I thought was a nice single guy for a few weeks, and then today I got a call from a woman who says she's his girlfriend. Ooh.
Oh, no.
This has been an awkward call.
Oh, that call.
But she didn't say, stay away from my man or anything like that. She just wanted me to know that we can carry on seeing each other, but that she's not going anywhere. And the reason she called me was to ask how long we've been seeing each other, because he had told her that he'd broken it off and he was clearly lying. She also asked me not to let him know that she'd called me and to try to act normal around him. Obviously, I'm going to end things immediately, but I'm really shook by this. I have no idea how she's so calm about this. Why do men do this? And how can I possibly trust the next man who comes along claiming to be single and available? What do you make of that? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there are many stories here. I mean, her relationship with the ex, presumably the ex-boyfriend, her relationship with their relationship together. So there are a lot of stories here, but I don't like the drama. Obviously, where there's smoke, there's fire. Why is she messaging? Why is this woman messaging you in the first place? Why is she telling you to keep a secret as though you owe her something in return, as though, like, I don't know, you're in debt to her in some way? Certainly, she should confront her boyfriend at the time and ask him what the hell's going on. But there's two things here. One, of course, she should confront and figure out what's going on because there's a breakdown certainly in trust here. But her question is, how do I move forward and trust again? Well, I want to tell you, most people are genuinely inherently good and they don't want to hurt you in some way. You got to walk into a relationship being cautious, ticking certain boxes to ensure that there's trust in a new relationship. But walk into the relationship assuming that it's a kind one. The moment you see to the contrary, that is when you should put up a wall and back off. I always tell people, don't walk into the relationship with a guard up. Walk into the relationship with a guard down. And people then say to me, but Hanan, what if I get hurt? Well, that is the risk of love. The moment you want to fall in love, you take the risk and the gamble of getting hurt. But if you walk into a relationship with a guard up, you've got no chance. You've got no chance, because what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's you want to play the game. You got to put some bets on the table.
Definitely, that's quite right. That's quite right. There's always that risk. There's always that sacrifice and the compromise. And if you want to fall in love and put your heart on the line, you should put your heart on the line, and that means risk getting hurt. And by the way, as we said at the beginning, so you got hurt. You know, it's like telling a kid not to get on the jungle gym because he might fall, she might fall, or not to go and play soccer because they might get fouled. Well, if you don't risk getting hurt, you'll never risk creating value, or you'll never gain the benefit of potentially creating value. So walk into the relationship. If you get hurt, we walk again. And if you get hurt, you walk again. And if you get hurt, you walk again.
No pain, no gain. And I also think, it's just like, this is such a weird situation, because clearly I want to blame everybody in this story, because it's such a messed up story. I can't really blame the person who's written the email, because they seem to be the one who found out after the fact that there's this weird open relationship or whatever it is between the other two. I have a serious problem with the guy, because he's just a weakling who's lying, and he's not telling the truth. And as you say, he must be confronted. And then I have a problem with the other woman who wants to have her cake and eat it. And she's involving herself in something which is just bound to be very toxic for her in the long run. Such a mess, right?
It is a mess, and I would also question the lady that sent the email. I would ask her, it's like, if this is true and the guy's having this other relationship, how long have you been dating this guy, and have you not seen signs of this deceit or this lack of trust or distrust in the relationship? Because there's always something that comes up. But what we naturally do, men and women in a relationship, we justify the bad behavior. We make excuses for the bad behavior. We put these blinkers on and pretend we didn't see what we did see, just because we hold on to this blind hope that the relationship continues, hope for the fantasy of forever after. And we actually ignore the not so subtle signs, by the way, not so subtle signs that the relationship is lacking trust. So I would ask her, now looking back at the relationship, could you see the signs that you missed that you will take with you as extra data points for the next relationship, things to look out for?
All right, well, while we're on this, do you want to add something?
I just want to say, I started seeing someone who was already in a relationship, a dying relationship though, like living on separate floors of the house, etc.
The person wasn't actually dying.
No.
Okay.
They were old enough to, but
no, because I know someone who got into a relationship with the one person had a wife, but she was dying.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know if I'd recommend that. But the woman called me. She phoned me, and she said, "I just want to let you know that you're not the only woman." Ooh. Right in the beginning of the relationship. And she just put the phone down. I didn't have a chance to respond. And then I approached the person that I was seeing, and he said, she's just upset. Don't worry about it. She was right. She was right. And yes, it took me a 2-year relationship and a lot of pain at the end. And a lot of suspicion all the way through in an uncomfortable relationship. But I grew from it. I went into it maybe subconsciously knowing, having heard it from her, and always checking phones and things like that, and being suspicious, which is horrible.
What a way to live.
But it all added up to my experience and knowing what I don't want in future.
Leigh-Ann, so I hear this so often, and I always laugh because the moment that you enter into a relationship and the guy says to you, listen, I am married, but it's a dying relationship, or I'm in a relationship, but it's a dying relationship. The only direction you should be going is the opposite. Because why is he in a relationship? If it's a bad relationship, let him get out of the relationship and completely immerse himself in your relationship. If it's a
Yeah.
terrible relationship, why would he continue? So that's not even an orange flag. That's a red flag to anybody that is in a relationship with a guy or that girl saying, oh, no, I'm married, but I'm getting a divorce. No, I'm married, but it's dying. No, I'm married, but the relationship is about to end. You should be walking. The only condition that you should be putting on the relationship, if you love this person so much, is okay, end that relationship and then give me a call. Otherwise, you don't want to have that conversation.
It's something similar but different. I had a GP though once who met his wife as a patient. So she was his patient. They fell in love, got married, had kids, all the rest of it. And she became the receptionist. And every time that I was with him in the room being examined, the timing was perfect. It was every time I had my top off and he was using the stethoscope.
Leigh-Ann, what kind of doctors are you going
Well, I used to call him Dr. Van der Perver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I got you.
And she would walk in with a file or some excuse to put something on his desk at that point. And you think that she lived her entire marriage just being suspicious because of the way they met. So you've got to actually think about, how did you meet? Did you meet as part of an affair?
Yeah,
It'll bother you.
Leigh-Ann, listen, when you go to the doctor for a foot issue and he's lifting up your top to check your chest, I think that's already a red flag.
Clearly, I need to check if I'm colorblind or not.
Leigh-Ann's like, are my fingers sore? He's like, take off your pants.
I promise you, he had this habit of...
Get in the stirrups.
He had this habit of putting his hands into my pants.
Yeah, of course.
And like pushing around on my stomach.
You've been abused. Just you need to go and speak to the police. You shouldn't be speaking to none.
Well, at least someone believes me now.
That's what I say. Like, people justify, like, I'm here for my finger and you're taking down my pants. Like, how's it linked, doctor?
I just thought he was very thorough. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. We got some good advice for this poor person who wrote this email. I feel very sorry for them, but you at least heard from Dr. Hanan. You got to confront this guy and get the hell out of there. Yeah, for sure. Why do people do? There's so many people in this world. So many. Why would you choose the rotten fruit at the supermarket? Why wouldn't you go and choose 100%. a better apple?
Yeah, for sure. People just think they can't do better. That's why people think they can't do better unless
can't do better than someone who's still in a relationship. Come on,
never good
really.
enough.
You deserve. I mean, grow some self-confidence and sort yourself out. You're never going to be happy with anyone if you can't be happy on your own.
For sure. For sure.
Holy hell. All right, Doc, thank you. That's very, very solid advice from Dr. Hanan this morning, especially to you, Leigh-Ann. Doctors shouldn't be touching you inappropriately.
Now I know.
It's amazing what you learn in your 40s, huh? All right, thank you,
It's like that guy.
Oh, wow.
I've just learned something. He says, I've just learned this and I'm in my 30s.
Oh, wow. Well, for you, it's even worse. All right. So coming up in the next hour, we've got some really interesting stuff to get to. I'm going to have a full test. I'm going to have a whole battery of tests.
Is it a medical exam?
Yeah, kind of. Like I'm going to have a couple of tests that Discovery do with members. I've been a Discovery Health member for a long time, and they do a bunch of tests with you. And it's called your WELLTH Fund, spelled WELL, WELLTH Fund.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So what they're going to do is they're going to add these into my profile. It helps me to be screened for any stuff that may come along, so I can be on top of this. It's good for you. You get all kinds of points for this. It's a way to know yourself better, know your health better, and we're going to find out how to do that. So
do you get nervous for that type of thing?
Not really. I don't like giving blood. So if there's some of that involved, I'm not going to be thrilled about it. But we've done it before. Remember, we did a live AIDS test once.
We did.
Remember?
Oh, that reminds me.
Yeah.
Do we have time?
What? For an AIDS test? But right now, let's take a break. We'll come back in a minute, and then we'll get into what Leigh-Ann wants to ask us, which sounds dodgy as hell. So stick around for that and a whole lot more. CliffCentral.com. It is Monday.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Well, I'm a recreational pilot, and it's fun to fly, but it's not a mode of transport You know, I personally, I think what Elon Musk is doing in terms of tunneling, high-speed trains, or even high-speed carts that you can put your car on and
it's kind of
and zip
become a
somewhere.
train, yeah.
Because what's the point of transport? Getting from A to B.
It's a B, yeah.
You know, and you got to be able to do that at scale. So mass transport, currently Boeings and Airbuses, long haul, that might become rockets if Elon Musk gets his way. You can get anywhere in the world in 30 minutes, and then it's just about the last mile.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Every time you listen to that 80s show, Tom Cruise lives another 10 years. Every Friday on CliffCentral.com, Paolo and Dory review movies, reminisce about old songs, remember childhood places that are now car parks, and say some outrageously rude things about Patrick Swayze's brother. That 80s show, new episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on CliffCentral.com.
All right, cliffcentral.com, Monday. It is the 21st of August. You know what? I wore a T-shirt and shorts yesterday.
Yeah, I went, as I said, I went to a lunch and there were lots of men out with their feet out and legs out.
Men out
you
with
should
their,
be careful around
sure,
that,
glad
Leigh-Ann.
you said feet out. Listen, after your experience with the pervy doctor, I don't know. Hey.
But let me tell you what
Sorry
I was going to
about you.
say. This whole medical testing thing reminded me. There is a morning show host on radio in Australia. And just this week, he was chatting to his female co-host who is trying to fall pregnant with her husband.
Right.
And her husband needed to go for sperm testing or whatever they call it.
Right.
So the whole team decided, hey, let's take all the guys on the team and let's all get tested and see how virile we are. And the host, the morning show host, it was all fun and games. He went for the test. They filmed certain parts of it. Obviously, you couldn't film everything, but they filmed him getting his results, and his results were like catastrophic. Where you're supposed to have something like 20 million sperm, they found, or 70 million per
Found like
whatever.
4.
They found 20.
Oh, wow. So
He was
really
like 20,000. They said, no, 20. And he's just recently married and they were going to start planning for children.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought you were going to say he's already had a kid.
No.
And now he's found out that he's
But
infertile.
He was
like, it must be
broken
someone
down.
else's
He was
kid.
crying because this was really important to him, was having his own children with his wife. They were going to start trying next year.
No, they can still try.
Yeah, can't they take out the 20?
Part of the fun is trying.
Well, exactly. They're going to have
Part of the fun is
IVF.
trying.
Yeah.
You only
But
need
still,
one, you know?
That's a hell of a story, huh?
But yeah, that's something that you don't want to find out. And I do remember when we went for our AIDS tests as well, our HIV tests. It was nerve-wracking.
I always think with these kinds of things, it's better to sort of know what you're in for
Yeah.
and to be aware of what your situation is, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
than to be blissfully ignorant.
Mhm.
We live in a day and age where we can learn so much about ourselves. Why would you want to remain in the dark?
So if they were able to tell you that you were prone to getting, say, testicular cancer, would you have an elective surgery to remove your testicles?
It's happened. I mean, didn't Angelina
Jolie,
Jolie
yeah.
famously do that with breast cancer? She knew
Yeah.
she had a
Lots of women do it.
yeah, she had a definite likelihood.
Yeah, her
of
mother,
developing.
her grandmother had breast cancer. Her mother had breast cancer, and then she had the gene for it, the gene
Right.
marker, and then she was
She
like,
had the tests and
double
everything. and yeah.
mastectomy.
Yeah.
Let's reduce it to almost.
Well, I
zero.
mean, if you can remove risk, that's good.
Mm.
You can live a longer, healthier life. Who would say no to that? I was thinking to myself, well, who would go, no, I think I'll just take my chances and
I live on the edge.
live on the edge. I mean, why? When you could find out and do something and have an even longer, healthier life.
Because
But
people are weird.
But ignorance is bliss.
Why,
Gareth.
why do we smoke when you are told that it will cause cancer? We do it. Why do
No,
we?
you do it.
Why do we drink?
Don't rope me into this.
Have you heard that tequila can cause ball cancer? No, I'm joking.
Nonsense. How dare you?
Yeah, Dave,
Trying to find
Take
something.
away
blasphemer.
Take away the one joy that I have in life. Are you kidding?
Have you seen there's a Kardashian tequila?
I know.
I
I've tried
I
it.
smelt it yesterday
You smelt it?
because someone ordered it. So, and I
Okay.
didn't want to take away her pleasure by sipping
Well,
it. It smelled
while
pretty good.
we're on the issue of like fertility and infertility and that story about that radio guy who found out that he had very low sperm count. You want to ask the question, I think it's a good one. Are relationships between single people and married people with kids inherently unequal? And I want to know what you mean by that, because I know that you've probably thought about this and it probably comes
Yeah.
from a conversation you've had, right?
So, as mentioned yesterday, remember I met up with someone I haven't seen in 20 years.
Right.
We were at varsity together. That's where we met.
Okay.
She has lived a completely different life to me. She has.
You were good friends at varsity?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has 2 daughters. Her
Mhm.
oldest is 18 now. Can you believe it?
Wow.
She's got an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. And she's still married to the same guy.
Wow.
And then
Good for
there's
her.
me who hasn't bred at all and has a string of failed relationships. Okay. I just said it because I knew you were going to.
No. I mean, you feel that there's inequality how?
Okay. So the inequality is actually mainly financial. If we had have stayed friends, I was thinking I would have gone. Firstly, I would have gone to her bachelorette party.
Mhm.
I would have maybe been a bridesmaid. I maybe would have had to have flown somewhere for her wedding. There are gifts involved in all of that. I may have had to buy her a congratulations, you're pregnant gift, go to her baby shower, buy her a baby shower gift, throw her a baby shower. Then it's first
So you're
birthdays
saying
of the
if you'd
kids.
stayed friends with her, it would cost you a fortune.
Do you know how much money I've saved just by hooking up back with her after 20 years?
After the kids are already grown up.
They're grown up. I don't have to buy them anything.
Wow. That's a hell of a thing to think
All of
about.
their
This is what you were sitting there
birthdays.
thinking about while she's asking you about what's going on in your life.
You might have been asked to be a godmother, had
Wow.
that responsibility. I mean, think about you with your nephews and your brother and his wife.
Mhm.
You don't get any of that shit back. You don't get nearly as many birthday presents and parties and things like that.
So it's funny you say that, but I don't see it that way at all. For example, last night I got this voice note from, look at this. I'll play it for you. It's actually quite cool. On my brother's. Fine.
And also, look, family is different.
Yeah, family does have.
But this
But
to
with
me,
friends, it's a thing.
this to me makes it really fun. So here
And
we go.
her husband's
so I got
birthday.
This. Listen to this. This is from my little nephew, right?
Hello, Gareth. I'm sending this to you because I want you to come over and have a game of Risk with me, Lord of the Rings Risk.
Okay,
Cute,
so I've said,
man.
obviously I've said yes. So I'm going to go and play
Aw.
Risk against my nephew tonight. And of course I'm going to beat him and teach him to lose because I can't stand losing.
Well, teach him how you win.
Therefore, he'll be better than me because he'll have learned to accept losing graciously.
Oh no,
unlike me, right?
that was the rule growing up.
But that, I mean, like, the last thing I think about is spending money on them for presents and things.
Okay,
And
so
I
let's
know
remove
you're-
the family example.
I know you're not obsessed with money either. But
No.
I mean, I do. It's kind of a funny observation that
But
you
also
you
you-
saved yourself all that cash by only being friends with her again 20 years later.
And also think about you go to a lot of weddings where you have to travel for them,
Yeah. Oh no, I've done that a lot of times.
and all the gifts you bought, and
no, but again, it's like,
you get something out of it.
so I was away with some friends this year, and I turned to my one friend who'd organized much of the holiday and the trip and paid for a lot of it as well. And I said to him, investing in you as a friend was a very good investment. And he just started laughing. And that's the way I see it. It's like you invest in people, and sometimes that investment really comes back, not in terms of finances necessarily. You don't actually get a monetary reward, but you look back on 20, 25 years of friendship and you're like, what awesome people I have in my life.
Yeah.
Worth every single thing. Worth the trip to wherever for the out of town wedding, worth the gifts, worth the birthdays, worth the arguments, worth the laughs, all of it.
It's about creating experiences, and whether they have paid for it or you have, it really doesn't matter. I 100% agree with you.
Carl says, Leigh-Ann, this tells us something about you. Absolutely wretched. You're supposed to give without an expectation to receive. Wretched.
I promise you, I'm not on the side of the argument where I would rather not have it. I promise you.
No, that's wrong, Leigh-Ann. You saved money. You looked at it. You looked at the spreadsheet. You looked at the balance sheet, and she's like, "Oh no, it balances on my side."
You guys know I don't care about money.
Sounds like you care a lot about it.
It's just something I thought of, guys. Really.
I thought when you brought this up and you said there was inequality, I thought you were going to say something like, well, this person.
I love her more than she loves me.
Well,
Type thing.
no, almost like she's had a very different life to yours, and therefore you have unequal results in terms of
yeah.
the amount of time and effort she spent on building a family as opposed to you just like living your life. That's what I thought you were going to say. I didn't know you were going to bring up how much money you saved. The Scottish gene. You talked about that. It's the Scottish in you. You're like, oh, I saved a lot of money by not being her friend for a long time, and now I'm back in her life, and it cost me nothing.
But also, women think differently about money. I saw something the other day. I wish I could remember all the points, but how women's brains work when it comes to money. If we return something, like if we bought an outfit and we return the outfit, that means you've made money. You've made a profit. If you don't buy something, it means you've made a profit.
No, sure. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, that's one hell of a way to live, though. Don't you believe, though, that if you invest in people, you get a result out of that?
100%.
Right? You really do.
I promise you. I just raised it. It was a fleeting thought. I promise you, I value the friendship more than anything.
I like the way Carl called you wretched.
You guys know me, man.
Oh, it's so great. All right. Yeah, human capital. That's what we're talking about. That's what Sanele calls it.
Mm.
And you do find, like, I often will be talking to a friend of mine and I'll think, you know what? I'm so glad I spent time getting to know you. Because now there's a rich friendship behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's amazing.
Look at you being all sentimental.
Oh, and who knew I would be like this? Would you date someone with a bad credit rating, Leigh-Ann? Says Congo Chris.
No, because then we'd both be in shit. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Let me ask you about this quickly, because this is a fascinating story that was in the news. There's a guy, and he has... for some reason, where is Bakh'abantu? I need Bakh'abantu in here quickly. I just need him in here to talk about this dude. Because Simpiwe showed me a picture of this dude. He is trying to live forever. He's trying to live longer. We talk about how we want, for example, to see, our results for these tests that I'm going to do just now, because we want to know whether we can prevent something, whether we can pick up something that's not so good. We can see whether we can make ourselves healthier, all of that stuff. So there's this guy. His name is, what is his name? Hang on. Brian Johnson, right? Brian Johnson, founder of Venmo. Is that what you said?
Yeah, founder of Venmo.
All right. So the story with this guy is he spent $2 million to try and look 18. And I'm going to show you what he looks like in the pictures. I don't know if I agree that this is work necessarily. So here he is. Here he is before and after. Kind of looks like he's maybe trance in the second picture.
Yeah.
Looks like a vampire.
All right,
Looks paler.
But here he is with his dad and his kid, right?
Yeah.
So there's a picture of him in the middle. His dad is behind him. His dad apparently very ill, had a lot of health problems. He's trying to essentially help his dad to live for longer, which is a very noble thing to do. And he's made all this money off Venmo, which you know is the wallet that you could send people money on.
Like PayPal type.
Right. But I mean, how old is he? Do you know how old he is?
Isn't he in his 40s?
Yeah,
well,
to me, he
technically
looks like
18.
he actually, I don't know how he's trying to look 18, but to me, he looks like he's in his 40s. He doesn't look 18 to me.
But the weird thing that they do is that they circulating the blood through, right? So now the son is basically a blood boy. I've told you about blood boys, right?
Oh, so he takes
some
blood
rich
from his
people
son.
have
Yeah,
blood
so his son
Sure.
is 17. He's virile.
Let's just take
and
a look at
whatnot.
that son again, whether or not he's a happy-looking chap. Let's just want to see by his facial expression whether I can
He looks a
deduce
bit
any.
weak. Like he's
a bit anemic here.
a bit pup after giving all that blood.
Shame.
So they take some from the son, they take some from him, and then they mix it, and then they put it
Oh,
back,
wow.
and they try to find a balance. Also, he's spending like a lot of
He
money.
takes a ton of pills every day.
Yeah, he takes a ton of pills. He's not even gymming that much, but he's on this train where he's keeping each and every one of his organs in the best condition they can be in order to pursue immortality. But the problem is, it sounds very pseudoscience-y.
So you're not a fan?
Not a fan. No, there is no result on this blood transferring thing. There was a rat study, right? So that I remember we learned it in varsity. There was a rat study that shows if you put back good blood in someone, your levels spike up. But now they put back good blood in rats, like let's say from a virile rat into a sickly rat, the level spiked up. But then they also did the same thing with saline, and it also did the same thing. So it's just if you put new fluids in the body just reacts in a positive way.
But there's no long-term.
There's no long-term
provable long-term benefit
so far.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what is a provable long-term benefit is the fact that you should be checking yourself for all kinds of health problems. So I'm going to let Bakh'abantu out of here, and I'm going to introduce you to, in case you haven't met him before, a really incredible guy. I mean, he's got the most unbelievable CV. He ran Netcare for a long time. Then he went to Discovery. He ran Discovery Bank for a long time. Now he's running Discovery Health. He's the CEO of Discovery Health, and he's going to be our guest this morning. And we got lots to talk to him about. To those who do know and are familiar with the name of Dr. Ryan Noach, it's such a pleasure to have you here. How are you?
Great, Gareth, and thanks for having me.
Sure. Good to see you. You guys are doing incredible work. And I'm really excited about what you wanted to tell us about today, which is the WELLTH Fund. Now, the moment I hear that, I immediately think, oh, it's got to do with the bank and finances, but it's not. It's WELL. And this is about a way that you can take what you've already got in terms of your knowledge base of your health, the ability for you to be able to pay for things health-wise through a medical scheme and all the rest of it. But now you're going to add tests to this that allow people to know a little bit more about what's going on with them and do the regular testing to kind of keep up to date. Sounds like a good plan.
Yep, the name comes from the fact that we believe your health is your wealth. Wealth,
Right.
EALTH.
Absolutely.
And so we called this the WELLTH Fund, as you said, WELLTH, a bit of a play on words. But
Nice.
Gareth, what was interesting during COVID-19 and concerning for us was a massive reduction in the amount of prevention and screening behavior. People just stopped doing healthcare screenings. And as a result, there was lots of undetected disease out there. And as we come out of COVID-19 now, we're experiencing a surge, a backlog in these undetected diseases. So inside Discovery Health Medical Scheme, we've created a benefit that provides a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for fully funded prevention and screening tests. Big extension.
So again, other people always go, oh, do I have to pay extra for this now?
No, this is free and included in the Discovery Health Medical Scheme offering. And it's an extension of the previous prevention and screening benefits, paying for a range of stuff so that we can understand our health. They're almost a reset of an understanding of our health.
I like this. And Leigh-Ann,
And
I'm sure you like it
and
too.
it's for the company's benefit too. I mean, not that that's the big thing that you're selling or the big idea that you're putting across, but it's to your benefit if everyone is healthy.
Yeah, and remember, medical schemes aren't necessarily companies. Medical schemes are not-for-profit organizations. They function as a mutual fund.
Right.
So actually, it's the members' money inside medical schemes.
Yes.
And obviously, if one's screened and picks up disease early, the long-term treatment of that disease generally comes at a lower cost.
Yeah.
But of much more importance than that, we'd like to know what diseases we're living with. We'd like to live a long time.
Right.
Like the 200-year-old aspiration you're speaking of.
Yeah.
And knowing early and treating and managing these conditions allows us to live healthier years of living and longer, of course.
Okay, so obviously screening and prevention, this has existed for a long time. And now that it will become more well-known to people because of this, is it a one-off or is this something you can keep on doing?
The medical scheme offers basic screening and prevention benefits and always has, and pays for a health check, which is a biometric check of all your basic measures of risk. What the WELLTH Fund does is, over and above that, extends the cover once in a lifetime, so once during the 2023 or 2024 calendar year for a range of additional tests and additional screening behaviors.
Wow. Okay. And how do you unlock this WELLTH Fund if you're already a member?
Well, we're about to do it for you. We're going to
do this live. All right, so let's get the team in here. Let's get everybody in here.
Get the party started.
Your party, Leigh-Ann. All right, so I'm going to have, what tests am I having here, by the way?
Yeah, you're going to have a simple health check.
Hello. Hi, guys. All right, so what are we going to do? Like the usual blood pressure, blood
sugar,
glucose level,
check your
cholesterol. Very good.
Make you stand on a scale and check your weight.
Okay,
and then we compare that to your height to understand if you're an appropriate weight.
Okay, so what do we want to do first? Let me put the mic on for you there over there. What's your name? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Melissa Naidu.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Good. All right, so what do you need from me?
So what we're going to start with first will be blood pressure.
All right, so you're going to
So hopefully it's not raised as yet.
No, I don't think so.
He's been quite calm this morning, so it should be all right. Nothing's enraged him yet.
When's the last time you checked your blood pressure, Gareth?
I can't remember. Probably.
Yeah, that's the point.
That is the problem, right?
No, that's the
because people
problem.
forget.
Yeah, even somebody thoughtful like you.
And then, but this is the problem. And I think for a lot of us, we only do these things when there's something wrong.
Yeah, because you don't always feel a high blood pressure. You can, but not always.
All right. So why do we look at blood pressure? I mean,
blood
back to basics.
The problem with high blood pressure or hypertension is that we can live with it and be completely unaware of it. And if you're living with high blood pressure, it can cause damage to a whole lot of your target organs. You can land up with a stroke. You can have problems with your eyes, your kidneys, your blood vessels, and your heart itself. So checking your blood pressure just once as a screening test is critical, because if you have a high screening test, we can send you to a doctor to make sure that, in fact, there isn't a persistently high blood pressure or hypertension.
And all right. I think it can also fool you because, go for it.
Let's go for it.
Okay, I can chew gum and walk at the same time.
You shouldn't really talk.
Ideally, we should.
You shouldn't
really? I should shut up?
I'll talk to you.
All right.
But what's crucial about it is that you can appear to be a physically healthy person, and you could have a genetic factor where you come from a family of people with high blood pressure. It's not always about the way you look or the way you exercise or the way you eat. It can just creep up on you.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of hypertension, a lot of high blood pressure, particularly in South Africans, is called essential hypertension, and it appears for no particular reason at all. And as Leigh-Ann correctly said, that may well be familial. So for me, I live with hypertension. I'm on treatment for hypertension. My dad had hypertension. My grandfather had hypertension. And so although I feel completely normal, I take medication every day to keep my blood pressure down. Could also be a bit of the stress though.
Yeah,
absolutely. So here we go. We got some results. What do we say?
Okay, so right now we have a 141/92 BP, Ryan.
Okay, that means your blood pressure is slightly elevated, Gareth. Now, there's no reason to be anxious about that.
Thanks.
No, what often happens is under pressure, We get something called white coat hypertension. And what that is because the whole world basically is watching you have your blood pressure now.
Yeah, so
you feel particularly stressed about that blood pressure reading.
And it actually does affect the numbers.
Definitely affects the numbers, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you want to do, what is this, HIV?
So it's voluntary. And
Yeah,
if
we
you
do
would
it.
like to-
Yeah,
Alright,
of course.
lovely. But
I've opted in for everything.
Excellent.
And don't worry, you can get me the counselor and all that stuff if I've got bad news.
So shall I ask you 3 compulsory questions
Yes,
if you
go. Let's
don't
go.
mind?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had an HIV test in
I
the
have
past?
a number of them. We've had some of them on.
We've had
on
ours
before.
together, yeah.
No.
Excellent. Is there any cause for concern or worry that the result may be different than what you know it to be?
Don't think so.
Excellent.
All right.
And do you have knowledge and basic understanding what HIV is?
Yes.
All right. So we covered it.
Unlike one of our former presidents. All right, let's go.
We'll have the shower ready for you and a,
no,
and a soup
I
of
meant
onions.
I meant another former president when I said that.
Ah.
All
I wasn't
right.
talking about that one.
Shall we use
Right.
the...
You got a little needle there.
Yes, I do. First, I need to just clean the finger. We'll use the
Okay.
middle one.
All right. Let's do this.
And you ready for
So
your...
yeah, of course. So obviously checking for this is hugely important, right, Doc?
Critically important. Again, HIV, you may well be living with it and be unaware.
Yeah.
And these days, HIV is entirely treatable.
Yes.
Completely treatable.
Absolutely.
People live a normal life. They get normal life insurance, even if they've got HIV. So antiretroviral therapies have changed what AIDS looks like. AIDS is the fully blown form of the disease, and we very rarely see that now.
Sure.
Fully treated on
amazing.
antiretrovirals, people can live with HIV a completely normal life.
Now, I know you've got lots of data and you have an enormous amount of information, which makes it really, really useful and helpful to kind of speak to people like you about what South Africa, the general state of South Africa is. And obviously, you're only talking about your members, so you can't give me stats on the whole country, but you must have some insight. What are the big things South Africans are dealing with?
Yeah.
Because we just mentioned AIDS, but let's just talk for a second about diabetes.
Yeah.
And TB and all these kinds of things.
No, the most common chronic diseases, we think of diseases as infectious and non-infectious. And what you're talking about are the non-infectious or lifestyle-related diseases.
Right.
And these are diseases that develop because we don't live such healthy lives anymore. If you think about the old days, people used to run in the field chasing after animals to catch them. They were physically active. They didn't necessarily eat all the fats and unhealthy refined sugars that we eat today. And so they lived much healthier lifestyles. So these lifestyle diseases are particularly high blood pressure and diabetes, and they're closely associated with obesity or people that are living with higher body weight than they should. How's your finger?
No, it's fine. Everything it's working still.
Was it
so
sore?
I'll be all right. No, it wasn't sore.
Yeah, Melissa's a very gentle nurse.
Melissa's very good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
By the way, I did some research and some homework on this. I went onto the Discovery website and I went and looked at the Wealth Fund, and I saw you have to book an appointment. It's very convenient. You go to one near you. There are a whole bunch of people all over the country. You can go and have it done. And I didn't book because I didn't know whether, I was booking here or there or anywhere. But you guys are obviously going to upload this all to my profile.
No, you're a
afterwards.
VIP, so we came to you.
Oh, very exciting. Okay, but I mean, this is available to all Discovery Health members, so you must go and check it out. So, all right. I mean, we worried about some of these non-infectious diseases, because a lot of them can be prevented. A lot of them with a good diet, with exercise, with testing, preventative stuff, you can do something about it.
Yeah, and
right?
you speak about exercise. It's a bit of a cliche. I mean, people just say exercise, but actually there is very strong evidence-based research now showing that exercise is probably the single most important thing you can do to prevent lifestyle disease and to prevent mental health, mental illness. And mental health problems is something that we're seeing just a flood of since COVID-19.
Yeah, so how
should we move on to another test?
Yeah, we
have
actually
we not got that result
results.
yet?
We have two. We have your glucose and your full lipogram. That's for
Okay.
cholesterol.
All right, so let's have them.
All right. So we're
Dun,
looking
da,
at
da.
your glucose, random glucose at 5.0. That is excellent, Gareth.
Isn't it a bit high?
Not at
No,
all.
completely normal.
Is that all right?
Anything under 7.8 at a random glucose test is excellent.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew you weren't a
Melissa.
sweet person.
No, but thank goodness. I don't. This is the one area you don't want to be too sweet. Okay, so thank goodness, because I actually think it used to be a bit higher. I keep a little log of my results from the last time I did them, and I think it was a bit higher. So I was a bit worried about that one. That's good.
The
Right.
random glucose just depends on also what you've eaten this morning.
Sure, of course.
And how long ago you ate. And so there is variability. But as Melissa says, yours is completely within the normal range.
Well,
Thank
within.
goodness. All
I
right.
see he eats a pork pie on his way to work every morning.
No,
That
I'm
dissipated
gravy.
quick.
that dissipated really fast. All right, what else have we got?
So we have your total cholesterol. Your total cholesterol is sitting at 4.82. Another excellent reading, Gareth.
Okay.
Anything under 5 for total value is excellent.
Okay.
Very
All
good.
right. I
And
like
then-
that.
And at
That's very good.
Discovery, we go a little bit far and beyond. Instead of just doing total, we do a full lipogram. It gives us a better understanding of our ratios, whether the good cholesterol is high or the bad cholesterol. And in this case, your values are excellent. Let's talk about the very bad one, the one normally people will put you on statins for.
Yeah.
We got 2.87. Anything under 3.4 is excellent.
All right. So far, Doc, we're doing all right, huh?
Very
Are we
good.
happy?
I think you'll make it out the studio today.
Basically, you don't have to shoot me when I get outside or anything.
Don't have to put you down yet.
I'm a drag on the whole medical scheme. I'm so unhealthy that they're going to have to put me out of my misery. All right, very good. So what else are we still waiting for, and what else do you want to
So
do?
we actually have your result for your HIV test.
And?
One line is regarded as negative.
Ta-da! Leigh-Ann, despite all of that outrageous behavior of
All of
mine,
that debauchery.
yeah, all the debauchery. Look at me. All right, so that's very good news, obviously, too, because you want to have a good immune system. Who doesn't? You need
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great news. So, Gareth, all you need to do really is repeat your blood pressure check at a time that the whole world isn't watching.
Okay, well, we'll do it
And
after this.
There's a very good chance that it's going to
later.
be normal.
All right. And then what does that mean? All of that gets put into my file, and you guys can then refer to that to look for. And obviously, if we picked up any things that were problems, it'll help you to be able to plan something going forward so we can make sure that people can get treated early.
Yeah, look, it's critically important for you because as you sit here now, you have a good understanding that those risks of yours are well managed.
For sure.
Non-existent. And, you can go another year, and in a year's time, let us come back and repeat your health screening and make sure that it remains as stable as it is. If something serious was picked up, then clearly we would take you on a pathway to understand and mitigate and manage those risks properly and hopefully treat you for whatever we found.
Well, that's the best news, is that all those things are treatable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all very good here. We got a couple of people commenting on they didn't think I was healthy at all, so I'm not surprised by that at all.
Do you exercise, Gareth?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. There's some people here saying, will this tell us if Gareth has ball cancer? No, clearly not. That's from Congo Chris. So a lot of questions on here. We've got to also check his prostate. Says someone else.
We can do that now if you like as well.
I think I'll be all right. Thank you, Doc.
Yeah.
I'd rather just
Would you like the
hang
gloves,
on.
Ryan?
Yeah, you can take the gloves off of Melissa, and then we'll see. All right. So what else did you need? You needed to do height and weight.
Yeah, I think it's very important.
All right,
that
let's
we
do this
height,
quickly.
weight,
Do you still use BMI as your main measurement?
Yes, absolutely. BMI is relevant. BMI stands for Body Mass Index, and it is the relationship between your height and weight so that we can get a height-adjusted weight. Over time, what we've realized is that we actually need a third measure to adjust BMI. And so what we do now is we measure a waist circumference, and we do a waist circumference adjusted BMI. So, for example, I'm relatively muscular. I train in the gym every day.
Yeah.
And so my BMI actually looks high. But if you measure my
That's the
waist,
thing, yeah.
you measure my waist is small. It's well within in normal. So my waist adjusted BMI is completely normal. And I suspect Gareth's would probably be a very similar situation.
And you do know that if I was taller, I'd be thinner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hence the need for a BMI.
Yes, exactly.
So at the moment, Melissa is measuring Gareth's waist.
Yeah.
I don't know if people can see it online.
Is it true as well that for men generally carry fat on their internal organs more than they do on the out
All
body?
people can carry visceral fat or fat on the internal organs. We can't measure that accurately through these techniques. There are some tools that we use in a more sophisticated health check, like an in-body scale, which gives us an idea of visceral fat content. And that's very relevant because if we're carrying a whole lot of extra fat in our liver, we can develop a condition called the fatty liver syndrome. And that's the start of a metabolic syndrome, together with potentially high blood pressure and other poor health. You can land up with deranged liver enzymes, problems with your liver function, and can lead to other complications.
Cirrhosis.
Well, at its very worst stage, but
Yeah.
hopefully not. Yeah.
So Leigh-Ann asked you about BMI, and I'm just curious about that because obviously, you know, the definitions there are very different to what perhaps people would consider healthy or obese or overweight or any of those things. Now, what is the BMI that you regard as being healthy?
Yeah,
Because,
anything below 30 is considered a normal BMI. Yours, we've just calculated at 27.5.
Wow.
Correct.
Look at you.
And so your body mass index is completely in the normal range. So above 30, we say that's overweight, and above 35, it's classified as obese.
Okay.
And as Melissa did for you, we measure your waist circumference. So if your BMI is high, but you've got a normal waist circumference, probably means you're carrying more muscle mass, typically.
All right.
So, but your BMI is completely normal, Gareth. So you're in good shape.
All right. Okay. So far, no problems.
So far,
Leigh-Ann.
so good. You can have that
I've
other
got
pork pie that you have on your way home.
No, I've got a birthday on Saturday, so I wanted to, make sure I make it to the birthday.
We think you should go with your shirt off.
No. I'm not Dr. Ryan Noach. All right. Well, I mean, this is all very good. I think someone says here, Gareth was worried about getting on the scale because it'll scream one at a time, please. But we don't have to worry about that, right,
Not at
Melissa?
all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just these are very insulting questions from our listeners. I didn't expect anything better from them, though, to be perfectly honest. All right, so these are the tests. Are there any others that you do as a part of this whole process, or is that the sum total?
So we actually go a little bit further for over 65-year-olds. We do an audio test for them, and we do
Sorry, a what?
an audio test, like a
Sorry?
hearing.
A what?
Testing 1, 2.
We got a big problem with Leigh-Ann. She trust me.
And just an eye screening for them as well. So that's the functional over the 65-year-old test that we do.
All right. It's got a little while to go before I get to that. But I have had my eyes tested regularly.
All good.
Which you should do anyway, right? You should get all of this stuff. The more tests you have, Doc, the better.
Absolutely. And, in addition to the simple health screening check, if there's one message I would leave with your viewers, your listeners, it's really to consider cancer screening as well.
Yeah.
And
now, what does that entail?
Yeah.
Well, the single most common cancer we see at Discovery Health Medical Scheme is breast cancer.
Right.
And I heard you talking earlier about
that's for women and men.
Angelina Jolie. It is, but breast cancer in men is very, very rare. Men have very little breast tissue. So the majority of the time, women. It's the most common cancer on the medical scheme. And there was a 23% reduction in the number of mammograms done from pre-COVID to during COVID. People were scared of the healthcare system and stopped going for their mammograms. That's terribly sad. It means there's people walking around out there with early breast cancer that just don't know. And so, for women, go for a mammogram.
So, I mean, they always say feel for the lumps first, but even if you don't find them, it's a good idea to go for these regularly.
Yeah.
Some of those changes that we see on mammogram are microscopic, and you won't feel them in a lump. We can find pre-invasive calcifications or hardenings of the breast tissue that could well be the beginning of a cancer. And those are important to pick up on a mammogram and can be then properly managed. You can land up preventing breast cancer entirely, or picking it up early enough that it's entirely manageable. And the second most common cancer we see at Discovery Health Medical Scheme is prostate cancer, and clearly that's in men.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, we saw a 13% reduction in screening between pre-COVID and during COVID-19. And again, a very easy thing to screen for, a blood test for something called prostate-specific antigen, which is a marker of prostate activity and could be a marker of cancer.
I think I had that done like a year or two ago.
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
And the urologists say that typically you should actually combine it with an ultrasound, a sonar of the prostate to see that it's not enlarged, and a digital examination. And as we offered, Gareth, you don't want
I'm
yours
not in a hurry to do that one this morning. It's going to be difficult to film, right, Romalemo?
No. He'll zoom in on your face.
And your eyes as they go big.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good.
And then the third most common cancer, so the top three, is actually colorectal cancer.
Yes.
And when you need a colonoscopy.
Yes, and colorectal cancer for people over the age of 50 unless you've got a family history or you're at particular risk. Otherwise, over 50, we suggest that you go for a colonoscopy and at the same time probably a gastroscopy, which you can have done once every 10 years if it's normal.
Yeah.
I had mine done last month. You know, that's actually a pretty simple procedure, but really important to know what's going on inside.
I've had a gastroscopy, and that involved quite a heavy sedative, so that you don't really know what's going on when it happens.
Yeah, the actual procedure is you don't remember it at
all.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I actually had a full total hip replacement 6 weeks ago.
Look at her. She's up and about. She's doing
look amazing.
She's doing jumping jacks.
I was actually only supposed to start driving on Friday, and I've been driving for 2 weeks already.
Okay.
You're that kind of person.
Yeah.
Who breaks the rules.
I had a very quick recovery. Good surgery.
Got no pain?
Still a little bit of muscular pain from that I need released through physio. But no, I'm ready for the next one. Now I have to have the next one.
You have to do the other side.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's either that or we were going to attach wheels to her. We weren't so sure that was a good idea.
But it just made me think there is no way in hell I could have had this operation if I wasn't on medical aid and if I'd had to have paid for it. And it made me also realize how many people were talking about how people didn't look after themselves during COVID. That's like the norm in America, because you have to wait months to get a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
And they've got such a terrible medical system there that you've got to pay for everything yourself. And there's so many people that are walking around with undiagnosed skin cancer and all of these things because they just can't afford it.
In the private healthcare system here in South Africa, we take for granted the access that we have. We have amazing access relative to developed healthcare economies around the world. And, you know, medical insurance is actually about those once-off large costs. You know, we hear people complaining about a 2 Rand or a 5 Rand co-payment in the pharmacy, and that is, of course, important and relevant and our role too, and we don't wish to escape that. But actually, an event like a hip replacement, which costs on average about 180,000 Rand for the event. I'm not sure what yours cost.
I think it was 170.
Yeah, so that's about the average cost of a hip replacement. You have to have insurance if you're
absolutely.
If you
Aren't
need
you
that.
impressed with the way he just pulled that out of his brain? He's like, "This is how much it costs." That's good stuff.
He should get a raise.
He's the boss.
I second
He's
that.
the boss.
I know.
I second that. Everybody's got a boss.
I mean, I look at how my mum, for instance, had a stroke and she was in neuro ICU for a year.
Wow. Sure.
I mean, that cost was in the millions.
Yeah.
And they're just so many people who just would have died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those costs sneak up on you. My closest friend always says to me that he's our best client because he never claims from the medical scheme until he fell off a motorbike 3 weeks ago on a trip through Namibia. And a 1 million Rand bill, right?
Oh my God!
And you just can't afford that unexpected expense if you're not properly insured.
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say I'm one of your best clients because I haven't claimed for years, but
please God keep it that way.
I'm just gonna touch wood.
Yeah, you should be thankful for that.
And
not resent it at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so Melissa, you do lots of these all the time. How do you deal with so many people in a day, and are all of them pleasant and friendly to you? Because you're very sweet and kind.
Oh, thank you. You far too.
Do you work at the Discovery Building?
Yes, at
okay, because you got a little clinic in there right now, right?
That is correct. We have a client center in there.
I'm sorry, by the way, that it was so far for you guys
to come. Drive.
To come right across diagonally across the road.
Only a pleasure for you, Gareth. So we work by appointments more than anything. We do take in walk-ins, but we have quite a lot of wellness specialists, fully functional center to assist you. So that's quite good.
Fantastic.
And for this screening test, Gareth, you can go to your GP, your general practitioner. Many of them
and they
do
can
these
send
tests.
The results.
Yes. You can go to a pharmacy. We've got some Discovery stores around town. Where you can go there, or you can book with certain biokineticists and other wellness providers. It's all available on our website.
Awesome. And then it all goes into the same system as Vitality and everything else?
Absolutely. You get your
Awesome.
points.
I'm
If
getting
you're a
some points for
Vitality
this.
member, you
Okay,
are.
good.
We'll make
All
sure
right,
you
I like
get your
that.
points. Yeah.
Very nice. Dr. Ryan Noach, it's a pleasure to have you here. And I hope we'll get to see you again soon because there are lots of people with plenty more that they want to ask you. And I know that you've got to run because you've got important meetings and things to deal with now. But thanks for coming through and giving me my personal results. I mean, I like that. Melissa,
Thanks for having us.
It's not often he's the one who's giving you the
Thanks
explanation.
for spending time on this very important
No,
topic.
sure. I think it's
Yeah.
hugely
Thanks for
important.
having us.
And thank you. That's
Okay.
Dr. Ryan Noach, CEO of Discovery Health, and Melissa, who came and did the test for me. So both of you, thank you very much. Lovely to see you both.
Thanks,
All right,
Gareth.
Leigh-Ann, I got a clean bill of health.
Okay.
Well, at least
I
slightly
thought you were going to
clean.
say now you. Please no. I've had enough probes in me in the last.
Now you. All right, let's do Leigh-Ann's next. That's very good.
That would be scary.
All right. So I think that there's some useful information here. And I think lots of people who are very concerned about whether or not they are, I don't know, keeping tabs on all of their own health questions. I think these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. And these are the tests you need to do. So very, very good. That's pretty much us for this morning. We will be wrapping it up and we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Have an awesome day, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.